Hello, dear students. As I promised, I would record a lecture for you for the part of the short story that was left in the class, actually. Because of the demonstration of the students, we couldn't do it in the class. So as I promised, I said that I tried to do it. I do my best, and even though actually I do not have enough time, but as I said I would do it. So if you just, I will give you an overview, or let's say a review about the short story. As we said, the name of the short story is Split Cherry Tree. It's about a schoolboy mainly. He is a student in a school. One day for their biology class, they went for a field trip, but with his friends, they broke a cherry tree. And for breaking the cherry tree, the teacher, Professor Herbert, one of the main characters that we have in the short story, decided to punish the 6 students. 5 of them, they paid their punishment, which was for each one of them was $1. But our main character couldn't pay. His name was Dave. Dave couldn't pay the dollar because he came from a very poor family. So he couldn't pay, and Professor Herbert decided to give him a different kind of punishment, and that was he said that I would pay for you, but you have to work for 2 days, each day 2 hours in the school, cleaning the school, instead of the dollar that I'll give instead of you. So Dave tried a lot with the professor just to tell him that it's better to punish him physically rather than to oblige him to stay for 2 hours in the school, because he said that I have a father. If I go home very late, he will punish me anyway, so it's better for you to punish me rather than my father to punish me. But Professor Herbert, as we said, one of the themes of the short story is about struggle between modern education and let's say traditional education, or modern way of thinking, and traditional way of thinking, which Professor Herbert represents the modern way of thinking, and David's pa represents the old-fashioned way of thinking. And Professor Herbert, as a modern man and as an educator, doesn't believe in physical punishment. So he said that no way, you are too big to be punished. So you have to stay for 2 hours and work in the school, and next day you can finish the next 2 hours. Anyway, Dave worked it for 2 hours, so he went home very late. When he arrived at home, he saw that his father is busy with he was busy with the works, and he was doing actually David's works. And Dave, before going to change his clothes, directly he went to do his works. So after that, his father was very, very angry and told him that you have to tell me why you came home very late. And Dave told him everything, and his father was very, very angry because he said that you are punished because you are a poor man's son. So tomorrow I will come with you, and I will teach that man a lesson that punished you. So today, the lecture, I will start from the time that Mr. David's father, with Dave, when they went to school. So when they arrived, actually they went to school very early, and when they arrived at the school, only Professor Herbert was there. And here, when they arrived at the school, directly they went to Professor Herbert, and it was just like telling him that what was going on yesterday and why my son came home very late. He wanted to know about that. So as here is written, you are professor. You are the professor here, aren't you? Says his father asked him, and from as he was in the manager's, let's say, room, he knew that he was the professor. And professor knew that you are David's father. He was with Dave, and he knew that he was David's father. Yes, says Pa, pulling out his gun and laying it on the seat in Professor Herbert's office. Professor Herbert's eyes got big behind his black-rimmed glasses when he saw Pa's gun. Color came into his pale cheeks. Here, the gun actually, Pa, as we said, Pa represents a kind of old-fashioned way of thinking, and people that of this kind of people always, when they want to solve a problem, they do not believe in arguments and discussion in solving the problems. Always they believe in power and force. So the gun here represents the power that he had. So when he put his gun on the seat in front of Professor Herbert, actually it's to tell him that I have power, or I am more powerful than you. So also it's a kind of threatening to Professor Herbert, because as we said, these kind of people, they don't believe in arguments and discussion in when they want to solve an issue. So Mr. Professor Herbert, he was actually very, very scared, as it's written, his eyes got big behind his black rim, like he was Kublai Chawi Darpohi Tirsan. And his face, his color actually was changed again. Yani. So here it is like the struggle between like two different perspectives about life, old and new one, modern and old-fashioned way. Professor, actually, David's father, he came just to he came to school and just wanted to know why these kind of things happen. And here in this paragraph, he tells him that Dave is the only person in my family that I sent him to school. And they were 11, but he was the only person that went to school. So from here we know that this family, they never cared about education, and they have no idea about education as well, because Dave is the first person that comes to a school from that family. And he tells a lot of things about the school, like he tells him that I sent him to come here to learn things, to be educated, but you are taking him out to do hunting of bugs and other kinds of insects. Here Professor, we says Professor Herbert, I guess it is. Look, we here it is a sign that it tells us that Professor Herbert was like, he was very scared, that could not speak very well. That's why it's written like that. And he looked at Pa's gun. Again, he's scared. Well, says Pa, this aren't no high school. It's a back school, laser school, a snake school. It aren't no school, no how. Look here, Pa tells a lot of things about the school, and he tells a lot of negative things that about the school, and he tells him that it's not actually a good school. In such a case, yani Professor Herbert, if he was not an educated person, he would reply him, and he would tell him like he would answer him in a negative way, in a wrong way as well. But Professor Herbert was very, very clever. He wanted just to change the situation, to change the conversation in a way to calm him down, because he knew that his father, David's father, was very angry. So he asks a question that does not have any relation with his questions, like with his sentences, like his speeches about the school. Why did you bring that gun? Says Professor Herbert. It's actually, this question changes the course of the conversation. And it's not a kind of reply to Luster or Davis' father. So the question is like a technique to calm him down that Professor Herbert used, because, as we said, Professor represents his education and represents his modern way of thinking. So he's clever, how he knows how to deal with the situations. But still, Pa wants to threaten Professor, and he wants to tell him that if you do not like follow me, or if you do not solve my problem, I would kill you. Very simply. What he tells Professor, you see that little hole? See, says Pa as he picked up the long blue 44 and put his finger on the end of the barrel. A bullet can come out in that hole that will kill a school teacher same as it will any other man. It will kill a rich man same as a poor man. It will kill a man. So it's a threatening toward Professor, just to tell him that you have to solve my problem. And these speeches, they are all like shows that this is the personality of old-fashioned people, which David's father represents, and they never believe in like arguing or discussing a situation when they want to solve it. They always want to solve any situation, any discussion with power, and here the gun represents his power. So as he say, as if he says that I am more powerful than you, so I have to I have to solve by power, and you have to follow me, or you have to do anything that I want. Here in this paragraph, actually, if you remember from the very beginning, Dave he mentioned that Professor Herbert was very big, but here when Pa stood beside Professor Herbert, his pa looks like much bigger than Professor. Look, Professor Herbert, what was his reply? I was only doing my duty, says Professor Herbert. Mr. Sexton, and following the course of the study the state provided us. So Professor would not reply his threats, would not say anything that would like to make David's pa to be angry. What is it? I was only doing my duty, and I didn't say I didn't do anything that is not my duty. And I just took the students out for a field trip, which is a part of my duty. It's a part of the course of the study. But I'm still these kind of things does not like persuade Pa. Still, he's talking about the school. What study? Back study, vermin study, taking youngings to the woods. And he tells him that the poor old mas and pas at home are slaving. They work like slaves. We send the boys to come to school, and you take them out for a field trip. At that time, the school boys, they came. Professor Herbert doesn't want the other school boys to listen to them. That's why he told Dave, close the door, Dave, so others won't hear. I was right with these students. Actually, David's father told him that you did something wrong, that you took the students all together, girl and boys, out for a field trip, and they did a lot of they damaged, like they broke cherry trees of other people. What was his reply? I was right with these students. I know what they got into and what they didn't. I didn't send one of the other teachers with them on this field trip. I went myself. Yes, I took the boys and girls together. Why not? So they have different perspectives about the issue. For a professor, it was something normal to take the boys and girls together out for the field trip, but for David's pa, no, it wasn't. What is it? It just don't look good to me, says Pa. Yani it doesn't seem good to me. If you just notice the speeches of Mr. Luster, Mr. Saxon Luster Davis Pa, he speaks grammatically and he has a lot of grammatical mistakes. So it's to tell us that his father was an illiterate person. And what made David's father to be angry, a part of the, except that he came home late, it was that among the 6 students that they broke the charity, only David's father, Dave, stayed at school and worked for 2 hours, and the others they paid by money. So this made David's father angry because he believes that he was punished because he was a poor man's son. He was a poor man's son. But Professor Herbert actually, he asked for each one of them, he asked for $1, and the dollar was for the owner of the charity, not for Mr. Professor Herbert. And the other 5 boys, they paid their money. But here a question would come up, yani, is it fair, yani, to just decide or just to let the other 5 boys just because they have money and punish this one just because he didn't have money? So is it a fair decision or not? So this decision made David's father yani, to be angry. That's why he came here to solve that problem. Dave actually Mr. Sexton, David's father, told him that you could whip him instead of punishing him or letting him to stay for 2 hours. You could punish him. Balam, as we said, yani, he represents a modern way of education, so he doesn't believe in physical punishment anyway. He's not like Mr. Sexton. That's why he said he's too big to whip, and he's a man in size. So physical punishment for him is not a way of doing like that. Balam, as we said, Mr. Sexton, as an old-fashioned way of thinking, he still believes in physical punishment. If you remember, he said that if you spare the stick, you spoil the lives of children. So he believes that through the sticks, through the punishment, through whipping, you can correct them. You can put them on the right way. So he said that they aren't too big until they are over 21. Yani, you could punish him physically until they will get 21. And still he's not 21, so you can punish him. So through the discussion, we see that something changed. Yani, Pa is not threatening anymore. And here something else we see here. Pa picked up his gun and put it back in his holster. The red color left Professor Bird's face. He talked more to Pa. Pa softened a little. So we see that the technique that Professor Herbert used was very effective, and Pa now, through the discussion, he's about to get the issue that he was not punished because he was the son of a poor man. He was punished just because he made something wrong. So taking back the gun to its place, it's like a step backward for Mr. Sexton, and he's about to solve the issue just by arguing and discussion, not by using the gun itself. So here the professor told him that we went out to bring some kind of things like insects, snakes, flowers, butterfly, lizards for the class of biology because they want to have tests on them. Balam, the Pa does not understand these kind of things. He thought only school means students should stay in a class and learn through the lectures of the teachers, not doing things in the labs. So Professor Herbert still wants to work more on Mr. Sexton. What he said here, you have heard of Germans, Mr. Sexton, haven't you? Just call me Luster, if you don't mind, says Pa, very casual. Look, here we see that Pa is going backward from his perspective of solving the issue by gun. Just call me Luster. Luster actually is his real name, and we in their culture, actually in the English speaking countries, when they call the people by their names, they call by their names only in informal places. When in the formal places, you have to call them by their last name. But here, he tells him to call me Luster, my real name, and it tells us that Mr. Sexton also wants, or let's say Luster wants to build an informal relation with Professor Herbert. And Professor Herbert, all right, Luster, you have heard of Germans, haven't you? Yes, says Pa, but I don't believe in Germans. I'm 65 years old and I haven't seen one yet. You can't see them with your naked eye, says Professor Herbert. Just keep that in mind. So he tells him that he wants to tell him that if I don't, as if I don't see him with my eyes, so I don't believe in them. But he offers him one thing, that to keep his gun, and he can stay with him in the school, and he would show him a lot of things. What he said, I have a few things want to show you. That scum on your teeth has germs in it. The scum here it means the hard substance that would be that is left on our teeth after eating or after the meals.